This is a PowerPoint on the legendary spells. Starting with Druid and Floop's Glorious Gloop. This card is unreal levels of broken. It's still incredibly powerful, and it's just insane. If you didn't know what it originally did, it said whenever a minion dies this turn, gain. Before, that wasn't that big of a deal. Yes, it was good with your guff and things like that, but it was fine, right? It was strong, but we didn't really have a need to nerf it. But then there was a rule change where you could just go above 10 mana if you gain a mana crystal, like from a coin, from Innervate, things like that. That also includes Floop's Glorious Gloop. Now, it was only gain mana crystal for this turn, sorry, but the issue with that is you had the card Forbidden Fruit. It's a 0 mana spell that says convert all your mana into attack or twice that into armor. So what you would do is you would play an Auctioneer Druid, you'd cycle through your deck, do all these things, then you would play as many token spells as you can, like your Living Roots. You would then play Floops, of course, Solar Eclipse, and Living Seeds. Living Seeds to then destroy the board and gain a lot of mana because it would destroy twice. Then you would do that again until your Floop's Gloop could get up to, I think it was either 83 or 84 damage was the max amount of damage this combo could do. Insane that you could do that on turn 4. You had a good. It's not even APM because the turn timers are the 75 seconds past turn 3, and turn 1 and 2 they're shorter. So pretty easily actually, because I've played this deck. It's not hard to play. It was not hard to play the APM. You could get this combo very consistently on turns 4 or 5, sometimes even turn 3 if you led with a biology project and your opponent just couldn't kill you before that. It was absolutely disgusting. One of the most overpowered decks we've ever seen in this video game, and I'm so happy they changed it. There was no reason for the change to the mana cost not capping at 10 anyway, so I don't know why they did that, but we had to suffer from that deck for a little while. Then for Hunter, we have Flark's Boomzooka. This card's not very good. There is a Boomzooka Hunter you can play. It's where you play Maxima Blastenheimer to shoot your Rivendare War Rider, and then because Rivendare's effect, it'll shuffle the 3 new War Riders in your deck. Then Flark's Boomzooka, because you only have 3 minions in your deck, will summon those War Riders, and because of their effect of if all 4 horsemen die, you win the game. Is it good? No. Is it consistent? Not even slightly. But can you win games with it? Yes, for sure. It actually was quite decent when Even Warrior was one of the best decks in the game, because Even Warrior just could not consistently beat this deck. This deck suffers from being incredibly slow to the point that you'll just get out-tempoed by even like Druid or Shutter Shaman. They'll just out-tempo you and kill you, not even get to their combos. But Even Warrior is even slower, and it needs to play an 8 mana minion to be able to kill you. And guess what? This was a 6 and 7 mana card combo that you could play on 6 and 7 and be able to sneak under Even Warrior. Does that make it a good deck? Absolutely not. It had one matchup that it was just pretty good in, and it was a meta matchup that you could farm, and I did that, actually. On my new account, the one that I play in for my videos, stuff like that, I hit my 500th win, I guess technically like 476 through 500 with this deck, and hit top 500 at the same time. So you can do well with this deck if you're a good enough player, but is it good? Absolutely not. I do not recommend playing Flark's Boomzooka Hunter, but it is something you can do, and it is very fun. Then, for Mage, you have Luna's Pocket Galaxy. This card is very weird, because it was underrated, and people thought it was very bad at 7 mana, so of course Blizzard buffed it to 5 mana. It was absurdly overpowered at 5 mana when they buffed it, so they reverted it back to 7 mana, and then it wasn't that bad of a card again as 7 mana. This is a phenomenon that happens in video games a lot, where cards or characters or things are severely underrated. Players don't play them because they just don't like them. They don't think that they can do things, yada yada. They get buffed and people pick them up, and then they'll get nerfed or reverted back to their original state, and they're just not as bad as people thought they were because people actually learned how to play with them. That happened to Luna's Pocket Galaxy. It was significantly better after its revert than before its buff, which is very weird and does not happen almost ever in any video game, but when it does happen, it is very interesting. I mean, this card is just not very good nowadays. You would have to be able to cheat it out, which you could possibly do with the new upcoming card, King Tide, from Perils of Paradise, and I am looking forward to trying that, but I don't think this card will likely come back anytime soon to being a good card without some kind of direct card to make it better or some kind of buff. Then you have Kangor's Endless Army for Paladin. This card was so terrible for a long time. It doesn't work in the context of Mech Paladin at all because Mech Paladin is an aggro deck, and aggro decks don't really want to be playing a 7-mana spell that doesn't really resummon anything because you just have a bunch of shitty mechs. So, when Leviathan came out, you were starting to think, okay, well, if they print big mechs that love to be resummoned, this card is great for it. You can resummon both parts of the Leviathan, which would be really good, but you still had that third slot. And it wasn't until Ziliax Deluxe 3000 came out and was nerfed for a second time that this combo was available. When Virus Module was originally released, it was 1 mana, or it was 3 mana, or I'm trying to do math. It was 3 mana, 1/3, gain Stealth, Reborn, Poisonous, and I think that was it. Stealth, Reborn, Poisonous, and Elusive, sorry. And then it was nerfed eventually to lose Stealth, but it gained 1 health. That was not a nerf, though, because it then could now work with Perfect Module, which, of course, is Lifesteal, Rush, Divine Shield, Taunt, to be like the old Ziliax. So you combine those together, and you have Unkilliax. It was incredibly broken, and it still is quite good, even though it was nerfed from 8 to 9 mana. It's still very good. And, of course, guess what card benefits from that immensely? Kangor's Endless Army. You can resummon two of those because of the Reborn effect, and it is unreal levels of power. It's just genuinely so good nowadays that Kangor's is finally a playable card. It's really good in Reno Paladin. It's genuinely so good. Reno Paladin has been falling off, due to nerfs, due to things like that from Standard, so it's not as good as it was recently, but it's still playable if you are looking for this. Then for Priest, you have Xeric's Cloning Gallery. In Standard, I can't remember the exact expansion. I think it might have been Boomsday. There was a, Xeric's Cloning Gallery Priest. You would have cards like Gilded Gargoyle, the 3-mana 2/2 that had Death Rattle, gain a coin, things like that to ramp. I know, crazy, right? Ramping, very powerful effect into your Xeric's Cloning Gallery, where you would summon cards like Prophet Velen, Malagos, and other spell damage, or just good effect Death Rattle cards, to then try and kill your opponent with pre-change Holy Smite and Mind Blast. If you don't know, Holy Smite was originally 1 mana, deal 2. It was basically just Arcane Shot, and that was before Spell Schools were in the game, so it was exactly Arcane Shot, but it was changed to deal 3 damage to a minion for 1 mana, which is fine. Nothing crazy. I mean, it probably would still be better as just Arcane Shot, but, And then Mind Blast is 2 mana, deal 5 to your opponent, if you did not know that. So it would synergize incredibly well with, Malagos and Velen. It would gain +5 spell damage and then deal double damage. So your Mind Blast would deal 20 damage, your Holy Smites would deal 14 damage, things like that. You had the coins to be able to play multiple in a turn. It was genuinely incredibly powerful, and it was a genuine meta threat deck at the time. Then for Rogue, you have Myra's Unstable Element. This card actually used to be very good. I know it looks like a meme card, 5 mana, draw the rest of your deck, but at one point this was it was one of the best cards in the game. You would play it in Odd Rogue, you'd play it in Kingsbane Rogue, and Kingsbane Rogue specifically synergized with it incredibly well because of the fact that Kingsbane can negate fatigue. As long as you press your hero power button or somehow destroy your Kingsbane, you will not be taking fatigue. So Kingsbane would just play this as a last-ditch effort to try and kill their opponent. You would draw through your deck, all that, and then do that. Or if you're just looking for ways to survive or get your lifesteal, because this was before the nerf to the Leeching Poison, things like that, you could play Myra's to try and fish through your deck and not be as upset because, again, like I said, Kingsbane makes it so you don't take fatigue, that you weren't that upset burning, 10, 15 cards as long as you got that one really good card. Leeching Poison. That card is broken with Kingsbane. Obviously this card would fall off over time. You can do this before turn 5 nowadays in Rogue. Garrote Rogue consistently draws through its entire deck by turn 5 without playing Myra's. So that's insane. Don't get me wrong, I think Myra's is a cool card, but I do not think a card like this could or should ever be buffed because of the implications of just what you can do with it. It is absolutely disgusting, and I hope we never see it again. Then, for Shaman, you have the Stormbringer. I think I might have talked about this card like before. I think I remember doing it, but the main use of this card was you would play an even Shaman, and then you would have a board of, useless minions because you didn't have things like the Stone Rite or Totemic Surge at the time, and you would evolve your minions into legendaries, and it was, pretty good at the time in Standard. Was it overall a great card? Not really. It's kind of just like, even Shaman didn't really have very many tools, so Stormbringer kind of fit in, but as, you actually got playable cards, Stormbringer was instantly out before you could even, spell even Shaman, dude. It was not a good card. It's not a great card. I think this card is, this card is weird. Transform your minions into random legendary minions sounds like something that could be very powerful, but it being 6 mana is a big downside, on top of the fact that you need to spend mana to build a board or have, spend a turn, and random legendaries are just not very good. So it's very weird that, this card exists. It's just not great. I also don't really understand why it's a nature spell. I just want to talk about this. What about this is a nature spell? Is it just because lightning is striking a conduit? I don't get it. I just had to bring that up. Then for Warlock, we have the Solarium. This card is in-fucking-sane. This is one of the best cards ever printed, in my opinion. It's 1 mana, draw 3, which we already know is broken, but it's at the end of your turn, discard them. On paper, that sounds like a bad effect, right? But when you're playing, Questline Warlock, where the fatigue versions of that deck, or versions that are running Giants, you don't really care, actually, because you have infinite mana, so you can play those cards anyway, or they'll just cost 0, so you don't actually care. It's just 1 mana, draw 3. But if you play it in Discard Warlock, holy goddamn hell. There are games where people will just rip Solarium on 1. It's not that bad of a play, actually. And you will hit either 2 Soul Barrages to deal 12 to your opponent's face. You'll hit Silverware Golems to summon 3/4s. You'll hit, I forget what it's called. It's the new Undead Taunt minion, which will summon 2 5s with Taunt. You'll hit your Bone Web Eggs, which will summon multiple 2/1s with just in general. Or you could sometimes hit, cards you don't want to discard, and that is a big downside, which is usually why people don't rip this on turn 1. But it is an insane high roll. This is one of the biggest high rolls you could possibly have in Hearthstone, is to get the Solarium on turn 1, hit 2 Silverware Golems, and then hit the 2/5 taunt, and then your opponent just is like, what the fuck do I do? Because you just did that on turn 1. And that's really goddamn broken, dude. If you don't understand how strong having drawing through 3 cards and then summoning them basically is, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. This card is in goddamn same. And then for Warrior, my image didn't save. Then for Warrior, you have the Boom Ship. This card on release had 1 use, and it wasn't to play as a big Warrior card, because Big Warrior fucking sucked when this card came out and didn't get actual good cards until United in Stormwind. However, you could play this card. It would summon 3 minions. As long as 2 of them were Malygos and Mecha'thun, and then something that had 6 or less health, you could play in a Rage. The 0 mana, deal 1 to a minion, give it +2 attack spell. On both Malygos and Mecha'thun, dealing 6 damage to them for 0 mana. Then you would play Whirlwind to deal 6 damage to the rest of your minions. And as long as you had no more cards in hand or deck, that would complete the Mecha'thun win condition. Was that good? No, but you could do it. The funny part about this card is it was just power crept by a new card that was released on July 5th, or yesterday as the time I'm recording this, called Rye Cleaver. If you don't know what Rye Cleaver does, it's a 7 mana, 4/2 weapon, Battle Cry, gain a slice of bread, Death Rattle, gain a slice of bread. What the slice of bread does is, if you have it makes a spell in your hand. Every minion to the right of the first spell, and then to the left of the second spell from the Death Rattle, gets merged together in a sandwich. It's a 2 mana spell that you play, and it will summon every single minion that was in between those. Yes, that is 9 mana total, but it is doable on turn 8 very consistently, and it can summon a lot more than 3 minions. It is very good, that card for Big Warrior, and I expect we'll get Big Warrior support in Perils in Paradise. But that also means we might get Big Hunter support, and God, I don't want to talk about Big Hunter. If you catch my stream that's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as the time I'm recording this, you will understand why, because I'm going to be talking about Big Hunter. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me, think down below, which one is your favorite, which one is your least favorite. Do you wish any of these cards to be buffed, nerfed? Did you like playing with any of them? Did you unpack any of them? Because that's a big thing that I've realized. A lot of people, unpacked bad cards, and they are upset about it. But yeah, I have 2 giveaways. I have one for members. If you can become a member of the channel, it's similar to a Twitch subscription. I have emotes, things like that, and you get a role in my Discord. Or you can comment and you can like, comment, and subscribe, and comment down below your favorite Hearthstone card to enter the pre-order bundle giveaway for Perils of Paradise. Like I said, at the time this is going up, I will be streaming at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube, so you can check that out. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Rising again.
Darker than they've ever been. As evil